So I shared with you this my high protein lunch strategy in other video. So I managed to get 36.4 gram of protein from this lunch. But I had 100 gram of chickpeas and 175 gram of tofu and then 10 gram of Kinako, which is a soybean flour or soybean powder. And I felt completely full. I mean, it was too much to eat. 100 gram of chickpeas and 175 gram tofu. So I didn't even feel like eating dinner that day. It was too much food. So I suggested that maybe I can reduce the chickpea amount to 50 gram and still I would get 32 gram of protein. So maybe this is more doable. However, even with 50 gram of chickpeas and meeting 32 gram of protein, I had another problem. That was both Kinako and tofu are soy products. Well, what's wrong with soy product? Well, the problem was I already had soy for breakfast. I had natto, I had a soy yogurt, and then dinner, I would have natto and tofu as well. Probably it is possible to consume soy in your every single meal. But personally, I like to diversify my ingredients. Isn't there a way to make a high protein plant-based lunch without relying on soy? Beyond soy, my new high protein vegan lunch, Kinako Magic Follow Up. That's something I'm going to talk about today, so stick around. Hi, my name is Hachiaki Takamiya, a 63-year-old biohacker based on Japanese natural health and the author of Live Wiser, Not Smarter. Are you struggling with plant-based protein? It is quite difficult to meet your protein requirement, isn't it? Especially with 1.6 gram per kilogram of body weight. So I used to practice 0.8 gram per kilogram of body weight, and it was not so difficult. Even though I didn't really measure properly, it was I usually kind of met sort of sufficient amount with that requirement. But with this new requirement, that's sort of double the amount. It has become a lot more difficult. Now I started measuring my protein amount. Yeah, I realized how difficult it is, especially using only plant-based ingredient. So do you have the same problem? Do you have the same issues? If you do, please share your experiences in the comment section below. Now, why do I care? I'm not a vegan. I don't practice a plant-based diet. However, I do kind of practice plant-based diet during the week. So I try to be on a plant-based diet as much as possible during the week, which is a sort of K period. So in the Ikigai diet, we divide the week between the K period and the Hare period, so that during the K period, you are kind of have a frugal meal and you sort of discipline yourself a lot. And then the Hare period, which is the weekend, you can include some animal-based product and you can sort of enjoy your meal. That's the basic idea. And therefore, during the week is kind of close to a plant-based diet, especially on Wednesdays and Fridays. Because on Tuesday and Thursdays, I include fish in my diet. The problem isn't the amino acid profile. By combining beans, nuts and seeds, and whole grains, usually you can have a sufficient amount of all 9 essential amino acids. So that isn't the problem. The problem for me was more about the volume. For example, this is 100 grams of chickpeas, which is a lot of amount compared to meat or fish. So if you have a 100 gram of meat or 100 gram of fish, you can kind of consume it very easily. But to consume the same amount of beans, you feel full. It's a lot more difficult. And it only has 80.8 gram of protein, the cooked chickpeas. Usually fish or meat has about 20 gram of protein per 100 gram. So to get 20 gram, you need over 200 gram of chickpeas. That is almost impossible to consume. That was a problem for me. I shared with you this my high protein lunch strategy in other video. So I managed to get 36.4 gram of protein from this lunch. But I had 100 gram of chickpeas and 175 gram of tofu and then 10 gram of Kinako, which is a soybean flour or soybean powder. And I felt completely full. I mean, it was too much to eat. 100 gram of chickpeas and 175 gram tofu. So I didn't even feel like eating dinner that day. It was too much food. So I suggested that maybe I can reduce the chickpea amount to 50 gram and still I would get 32 gram of protein. So maybe this is more doable. For details, please watch this video. The actual title is Kinako Magic, My High Protein Plant-Based Lunch Strategies. However, even with 50 gram of chickpeas and meeting 32 gram of protein, I had another problem. That was both Kinako and tofu are soy products. Well, what's wrong with soy product? Well, the problem was I already had soy for breakfast. I had natto, I had a soy yogurt, and then dinner, I would have natto and tofu as well. If I had tofu for lunch, I would be eating soy in every single meal, which isn't impossible. I mean, some people do that, and there is no data saying that is harmful. Probably it is possible to consume soy in your every single meal. But personally, I like to diversify my ingredient. I like to consume a wide variety of beans, not only soybeans. Um, Often we are tempted to use soy because soy is one of the highest protein-rich plant-based sources. For example, um, per 100 gram, we get 16.6 gram of protein. I'm talking about cooked beans though, but chickpeas is about 8.8 gram, lentils 9 gram. So soybeans have way more protein than other beans. Also, soy is considered to have a complete protein, unlike other plant-based protein sources. So for those 2 points, we all want to rely on soy. But isn't there a way without relying on soy? Isn't there a way to make a high protein plant-based lunch without relying on soy? It is quite difficult because, Kinako had 3.7 gram of protein and tofu had 12.3 gram of protein. So altogether 16 gram. So how do I come up with 16 gram of protein from other beans and other plant-based sources? That is the challenge. So that's something I'd like to share with you today. So please watch the video until the end. Those of you who just discovered this video today, this is the Ikigai Diet channel, which is a health and longevity channel. We usually cover things like diet, exercise, mindset, and sometimes we cover Japanese blue zones because there are several blue zones in Japan other than Okinawa, and we cover from traditional Japanese health method to modern Japanese health trends such as chokatsu. So basically, this is a channel about how to increase health span for people over 50 or 60. So if you're interested, please subscribe to this channel. Thank you. Now, so I am basing this recommendation 1.6 gram per kilogram of body weight. In my case, it becomes 96 gram per day because I weigh about 60 kilogram. So in the last video, I used this amount of protein for breakfast, it's 37.7 gram, and then 36.4 gram for lunch, and then 21.9 gram for dinner. So I can increase protein amount for dinner, then maybe lunch can be less. So this time I came up with this new number. So 40 gram for breakfast, because often breakfast is the best time to have a protein intake, especially in my case, because I exercise in the morning. I exercise before breakfast. So breakfast for me is the post-exercise meal. So I can have the highest protein amount in this meal. And it is quite easy to put a lot of protein-rich ingredient in my breakfast. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And then for dinner, I can have about 30 gram. And it is also not so difficult since I can consume soy. Yeah, both breakfast and dinner, I can consume soy, so it's not so hard. So this way, it only leaves just 26 grams for lunch, so which becomes much easier, 10 grams less. How to increase protein in my breakfast? Well, it's very easy. If I add peanut butter powder, for example, just 8 gram contain 3.5 gram of protein, and it becomes 40.2 gram of protein altogether. Or you can increase hemp seed amount, or sunflower seeds or pumpkin seed amount, or some little adjustment that can be reachable. The question is lunch. The last time I had this dish, the beans and the vegetables all together in one dish. But this time I divided the dish into two. So just a vegetable dish and hummus. Instead of eating beans on their own, I changed them to hummus. That made so much more palatable. Actually, this was suggested by one of the comments I think into that video. So someone suggested I can consume 100 gram of chickpeas and 100 gram of lentils and make it hummus, then it becomes easier. So which I did though, but it was still too much amount. So this time I'm using 50 gram of chickpeas and 50 gram of lentils, and then so it's altogether 100 gram. But because it's hummus, it was easier to consume than eating 100 gram of chickpeas. And it has 15 gram. If you're using only lentils and chickpeas, should be somewhere around 9 grams. But by adding some other ingredient, I managed to get 15 grams. Okay, so let's break it down. First of all, this vegetable dish. This is steamed vegetable and mushrooms. Now, since I had salad for breakfast, it is good ideas to have some cooked vegetables so that you can have different kind of vegetable, because some vegetables are difficult to eat raw. The benefit of eating raw vegetables are you can get more enzymes in that way, but there are other benefits to eating cooked vegetables. One is you can eat other kind of vegetables, but also certain nutrients can be increased by cooking. And steaming is one of the best cooking method. So I recommend steamed vegetables and mushroom, because I didn't have mushrooms for breakfast, so I want to include mushrooms in my lunch. So this dish has 76.8 gram of broccoli, which has 2 gram of protein, and 40.5 gram of onion, which has 0.4 gram of protein, and then 25 gram of shimeji mushroom, which has 0.675 gram of protein, and then 21 gram of carrot, which has 0.14 gram of protein, and then 20.5 gram of burdock, which has 0.3 gram of protein. And hummus. So it has 50 gram of chickpeas, which has 4.4 gram of protein, and then 50 gram of lentils, which has 4.5 gram of protein, and then 10 gram of azuki powder that has 2.1 gram of protein. So azuki powder. So dried beans have higher protein content than cooked beans. So the key is using a dried bean powder, such as Kinako. Kinako is a dried soybean powder, but I can use azuki powder to diversify my sources. And then 10 gram of almond flour has 2.2 gram of protein. So it's basically the same idea. The almond flour. I just found this in Costco, but if you like, you can choose one with a skin. This is one without a skin, but you can choose the one with a skin too. And then finally, 50 milliliter of soy milk, which has 1.8 gram of protein. Now, so this is soy, but I mean, compared to tofu that has 12.3 gram of protein, it's much less. And also, soy milk helps solidify this hummus. Once you grind chickpeas, lentils, and then adding, almond flour, azuki bean flour, it's kind of difficult to solidify, but adding some kind of liquid, it makes it easier. So I'd like to use soy milk because of that too. And then the kimchi is 30 gram and it contains 0.7 gram of protein. And fermented brown rice, it's 150 gram and it has 6 gram of protein. A miso soup contains 12 gram of miso, which has 1.5 gram of protein, and then 25 gram of nameko mushroom, which has 0.45 gram of protein. So altogether, 27.165 gram of protein. And for the Magoa Yasashi Koku, it has beans, chickpeas, lentils, nuts and seeds, almond flour, and seaweed, wakame, and vegetables, this vegetable dish, and then kimchi, and then mushrooms, shimeji mushrooms, and nameko mushrooms, and whole grains, fermented brown rice. And both fermented brown rice and kimchi are fermented food as well. So in many ways, this meal is pretty balanced. And then with the 40.2 gram of breakfast, it becomes 67.365 gram of protein. That means if I consume 28 gram protein for dinner, I can meet the daily protein requirement. The key is using dried bean powder such as Kinako or azuki bean powder or whatever is available in your region. You can use, almond flour or peanut butter powder or whatever is available in your region. That is the key. And hummus. Hummus is a lot easier than eating the beans as they are. To consume a large quantity of beans, making hummus out, I think you can make hummus from most beans. So that is the key to consuming a large quantity of beans. So from now on, I'll probably have that for my lunch on Wednesday and Friday. But for breakfast, I would still consume jackal, which are baby sardines, both on Wednesday and Friday too, for the calcium reason. So protein is not the only thing. I need other nutrients as well. But for lunch and dinner, I can make some dishes using only plant-based ingredients on Wednesday and Friday. Now, you can always use a calcium fortified product, but this kind of product is not available in Japan. We have only one calcium fortified soy milk, but that uses US soybeans, and we're not sure if they are completely GM-free soybeans. But instead, Jaco is widely available. They are sold everywhere, and they're quite reasonable too. Like the one I buy is only 290 yen, which is around $2. It's quite reasonable. And we have many small fish products. The next section has, whole small fish product here, and that's 290 yen, 290 yen. So those are all reasonable. So it is so much easier to include fish in our diet than strictly practicing a plant-based diet in Japan, because there are very few vegan options. There are few vegan selection in Japan. That's a big difference from Europe or North America. Um, and that is probably the same in other Asian countries too. So really, depending on where you live. On the other hand, in Europe and North America, you probably don't have those fish products. So in that case, maybe it is easier to look for calcium fortified product, because I'm sure you have a different selection of, not only soy milk, but almond milk, oat milk, and so on. So that may be a way to go for you. So really depending on where you live, the availability of the ingredient and product affect your final decision, I suppose. Now, so I said I was still wondering whether this recommendation was good or not, whether I need 1.6 gram per kilogram of body weight. Maybe 1.2 gram per kilogram of body weight is sufficient. It makes so much easier for me because consuming 96 gram of protein is still high. If it became 72 gram, it becomes so much easier. So I was wondering about this for the last few weeks. And I've been watching some other YouTube videos and so on to collect data. And now I have more understanding of this whole protein puzzle. So I have come to a kind of conclusion, which I'd like to share with you in the next video. Now, if you want to know about different arguments about protein requirements, such as 0.8, 1.2, 1.6, or higher, please read Chapter 4, The Idea of Fasting to Increase Health Span. And for Magoe Asashi Goku and other kind of a diet in general, please read Chapter 3, The Ideal Diet to Increase Health Span in Live Wiser, Not Smarter. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Again, my name is Hachiaki Takamiya, the author of Live Wiser, Not Smarter. If you like this video, please give me your thumb up and subscribe to my channel. And please leave your comment. How do you have a high protein meal using plant-based ingredients? If you have any other ideas, please share that in the comment section below. Thank you. Also, please share about the availability of certain products. For example, do you have a lot of selection of calcium fortified product in your region, or can you access to small fish product in your region, and so on? That will help other viewers tremendously. Also, if you want to watch my Kinako video, this is the one.